Hello, everybody. I know I haven't been on here in a while to kind of update my journal on this. So I'm going to do part two of my new Omega Wrestling. I actually did go watch the end of my video the last time just to kind of see what I left off on. And first of all, I hope everybody's doing okay with this pandemic and things are getting better for all of you. I know this has been really hard on people. I mean, I'm losing friends left and right. I actually had a friend, one of them I'm going to talk about today, who recently lost his mother. Um, it's been an awful year. It really, really has, and it just seems to get worse and worse. It seems, but all I can do is just hope for the future for everybody and for myself, and just kind of keep going. So, this is going to be part two. Now, part two of this, when I went into New Mega Wrestling, the roster that we had was very small, and the reason why it was very small was because we only wrestled. You only wrestled if you were friends with people. You had to know somebody. We didn't just take you off the streets. And the main reason why, obviously, is there's a lot of crazy people out there. I mean, apparently before I even got there, they told me a story that they actually had a guy who just kind of found them this company before they became New Omega Wrestling, and he wanted to be a wrestler. And they said, oh, maybe we'll give him a chance, right? And apparently he went into like wanted to use weapons that could cause like real damage to the point of like these like you'll see in wrestling today like tables and ladders and chairs, but he wanted to go like worse than that. It was to the point that like it was almost Japan style death matches. If you don't know what that is, I look it up. They're pretty brutal and they're really dangerous, and it's to the point that I think some of the stuff they even do is illegal in the United States. So they kind of threw that to the side. Well, I kind of was wondering like how can we get people in. I knew two people very well. One was Mike Falcon, and one was Justin, who would later be called Static. Now, Static, I knew him for a long, long time. I knew him since grade school, and he was always a real pro wrestling fan. We would watch pay per views together. We would hang out together. Um, I I actually became his friend through his cousin because I went to grade school, middle school with his cousin. So I kind of met him just throughout the years, and we all just kind of got close because I was always hanging out with his cousin, and we kind of went from there. Now, I first got Mike Falcon involved because I was hanging out with Mike a lot more because I went to high school with Mike, and we were very close, and we graduated together, and I started to wrestle after graduation. And Falcon, I asked him first, and he says, of course he wants to do it. Of course he wants to be a pro wrestler. He was a huge wrestling fan too. And I had to ask permission because like I said, we didn't let people just come in. You had to know somebody. And what we did was I went to Matt Zion and I told him like, hey, I know we're kind of like a small roster and everything else, but there's two people I want to bring in. And obviously the red flags are going up right away because now it's like, okay, wait, who are you bringing in? And I get it because they had random people that wanted to participate in stuff that you're just like, no, that's illegal. That's dangerous. Like it's, I mean, the end agrees this pro wrestling is fake, and we get it. It's choreographed. You know who's gonna win, but the moves still hurt. It's still very dangerous. You cannot you cannot fake a chair shot. You cannot fake a table spot. It hurts. And even falling on the mats were not soft. And we really didn't have a mat yet. We literally had just this couple of cushions and we squished them together. And it was awful. Like, in the next video I'll probably put up, it'll be about some of the worst injuries I ever got. Um, so finally, I asked Ion Zion heard me, and then he goes, "Well, what's Mike? Well, what's Mike?" And I said, "Oh, the Mike from the Mike that we go to high school. We went to high school with." And he's like, "Who?" And then I had to tell him his last name, and he knew his last name right away. He goes, "Oh, I know. Oh, Charlie." Like, he knew him right away. And he goes, "Oh yeah, man, he can come in." And then you can just see like Sean's like, "Well, I guess," because Sean was it was his house, it was his property. Well, I think it was uh, his ex girlfriend, his her dad's property. And he was like, "Okay, well, who's this next guy?" And I told him about Justin, and I told him how I was really close to Justin, and he's a huge wrestling fan. He's really in shape. He did wrestling in high school for 4 years. Like, he knows his stuff. And they actually were really, they're kind of afraid for Static, and because they didn't know him. Only I did. Only me and Falcon knew him. And Falcon, so Falcon, when he showed up, because he showed up the week before, Static, and he vouched, same thing, Falcon vouched for him and said he's a good guy, like he's a really good friend, he is very athletic, he loves pro wrestling, he's fun, he's funny, he would be a great fit. So the week before, we kind of established this thing that we were gonna do a kind of like our group. Now, because the reason why is me and Falcon and Static were part of this other organization in pro wrestling, but it was us it was just fun. Like, we were idiots. We literally just did wrestling moves in the pool, and we were landing on concrete. We were morons. And I think it was more dangerous than the stuff we were doing here. But me and Static really wanted this to go somewhere, but it didn't go anywhere. And I told Falcon, and I told Static, and then the next week after Falcon debuts, and I help him out in a match, fake, because we're building our group, and we go from there, and then the week after Static debuts, and then Static gets help from me and Falcon, and then you see us going together, and we realize that we were becoming this group and this clique. We're trying to be like an NWO kind of thing. Unfortunately, it really didn't work. It really didn't work at all. Just because we were all three different characters. We were all three different people. Static was very good in the ring, very athletic, could run circles around you, and just kept going. But he couldn't talk on the mic. Falcon was really strong. He was very technical, dead weight on every move, meaning like if you watch pro wrestling, they actually help each other do moves. Like, they'll kind of bounce or jump a little bit so they give more momentum. Falcon didn't do that. Falcon was just dead weight. So half the time you did a move on Falcon, it looked crappy because Falcon was like, "Okay, lift me up," and he was a heavy dude, Like, it's like, "God dang, dude, like, you can't do that. You got to help us out here, bro." And we were hurting each other because he was dead weight. It was pretty bad. It was awful. And so we kind of made this little group, and we were together for a while, but eventually we would go our separate ways. Now, the main reason why we went our separate ways was the fact of after so kind of the best way to say it is Sean and the guys, like the other wrestlers besides me and Falcon, were working on a ring. Were working on an actual ring. They were making it from the ground up. They literally got a whole mess of tires. They got a whole mess of plywood, and they covered it with the tarp and everything else. So they made a ring, and we had ropes, we had posts, we had everything. It was a legit ring. So it was actually pretty cool to see, and they built it from the ground up. So we were going from complete like mattresses folded together to an actual ring. So now we had to learn fundamentals. We had to learn everything else. Well, Static would bring his friends, other people that he knew from college, other people he knew from high school, to watch us because we actually had a crowd. And it was a great thing. Now, the thing is, me and Static and Falcon were supposed to be bad guys. Static couldn't get booed because obviously his friends are in the crowd. So his friends are in the crowd. He ain't getting booed. Um, I was getting cheered. I couldn't get booed worth my life. I think I got booed like twice, and but the rest of the time I'm getting cheered. So it wasn't working. Falcon is getting booed. And it's just his ignorance in the ring. And he's like trying not to be it, but he's so smooth at his moves and he's so technical. He would do something like, yeah, did you see that? Yeah, did you see that? Heck yeah, look at me. You know, and he was very cocky about it. It was kind of fun. And we all knew that we were going to go separate directions kind of from there. And it came down to our roster was full of bad guys, full of heels. We had nobody that was a good guy. I was a tweener, meaning I was good and bad, but I kept getting cheered, and I didn't want to be a good guy. I want to be a face. Now, the reason why is a face, you have to have certain rules. You always have to do the right thing. You have to be the best. You have to always be the Superman. When you're a heel, you can be a joker. You can be a villain. It doesn't matter what you say. You have more fun as a villain. And it's just like, it was always that way. But eventually, it was going to come down to where I had to be a face, but I would not accept it. So that's kind of the introduction of how I got Falcon and Static in. The next video I'll put up will be probably my injuries. And then after that, I will put me leaving New Omega Wrestling the first time and how I left and the depression I felt afterwards. And then the last video will be my return, what happened to all that. And eventually, the last video I'm going to put, it'll be me explaining what I did to leave for the second time, which became my last time, and I should have never left that way. And it was a very negative thing to the point that I don't know if they'll ever see this video. I don't know if Sean will ever see this video, or Matt, or any of these guys, but it's me. I'm going to be expressing my apologies to it because it's a terrible thing, and I will kind of explain my psyche of why I did it, what I did, and what I said, and how it was totally wrong. But so the next video will be will be the worst injuries I had, and then the last video, and then the next video will be me leaving, and then the first time, and then it'll be my return, and then after that it'll be how I left. So it's gonna be a couple parts. I will then continue my journal on my life in corrections. I will then go into a little more darker part of my life and what I became and my mindset and how I'm working through it. But I'm kind of putting this as my life for future generations to see, to kind of explain, like, your past is your past and you have nothing but the best for the future. And some of you may know, and like I said in the last video, I hope and pray to people that I've hurt. I'm not excusing the stuff I've said or how rude and negative I was. But I'm asking you to understand and forgive me one of these days. That's all I ever want. So till then, guys, be safe, be well, and God bless you all.